Another recession is unlikely. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee because I want to have a look at this article from Yahoo Finance discussing some recent comments from our Reserve Bank governor. The RBA boss says another recession is unlikely. So that's encouraging. But let's just remind ourselves what a recession actually is. And we'll start by, I'll just bring up the definition here of a recession. A period of temporary economic decline during which trade and industry activity are reduced, generally identified by a fall in GDP in 2 successive quarters. That's the Oxford Languages universally accepted definition of what a recession is. And Australia, we proudly had our first recession in hang on, I need to clear that one off. There we go. We proudly had our first recession in 28 years, everyone. 28 years. That's how long it's been since we had, well, it's only been a couple of months now since we had our most recent recession, but the recession before that was 28 years ago. I remember I was a young child. My father had a construction business in Victoria. My mother had a mobile hair care business, and construction just plummeted. It just plummeted. I was really worried. As a kid, I shouldn't have been, but still. So that was how long it's been. So there are people who've worked their whole lives, and frankly, I'm one of them. The only recession I've worked through, well, I'm in architecture, so, we have recessions. We're usually the canary in the coal mine. So when it slows down in our industry, we feel it. And in some regards, it doesn't seem like wages or fees have increased that much since the GFC. But still, there are people who are working who have never experienced a recession, and this is the first recession that we've had. And, well, the impact of it has been dulled by some extent because of government intervention. They've now discovered the magic of stimulating the economy. And you can see here the home builder applications, everyone. And then we had the emergency, what was it? Where is it? I'll bring up this one here. JobKeeper keeping, that graph, I need to update it. JobKeeper keeping people employed. Of course, none of this is free. We've got soaring government debts, $1.3 trillion. But don't worry about that, guys. Don't worry about it. It'll be 2080 before we even look at it. And there was some talk and some discussion of another recession where GDP growth would dip down. So remember, if we only get 1 quarter, that's fine, but we need 2 for it to be considered a technical recession. So let's see what our Reserve Bank governor has to say about it. So the RBA boss says another recession is unlikely. The Reserve Bank governor, Phillip Lowe, says a second recession can't be ruled out if the health situation deteriorates and lockdowns persist. But at this stage, he believes it is unlikely. Well, Queensland's lockdown hasn't been extended. New South Wales looks like they're in it for the long haul, I'm afraid. We'll have to see how Victoria goes. But if New South Wales is locked down until Christmas, the central bank has trimmed its economic forecast for this year, but expects the economy will bounce back even stronger in 2022. And predicts the unemployment rate will drop to 4% by the end of 2023. Okay, I'm going to show this little chart here as a bit of a joke. This is wage price index forecast from the Reserve Bank of Australia. They didn't get it in 2011. They didn't get it in 2012. They didn't make it in 2013. Didn't quite make it in 2014, nor 2015, nor 2016, nor 2017. And if we look at current wage price index, well, there you go. It's not really doing that well anymore. So you think you're confident on their track record. I'm sure they're going to get it completely right with this prediction. I'm sure, we'll have the unemployment rate dropping below 4% by the end of 2023. And I'll just bring up the unemployment rate here. Where do I have it? Here we go. I mean, let's have a look. We don't even have it sub 4% on this chart, and that goes back to 2011. I can't remember it being at 4%. Come on, some of the older guys in the comments, let us know when was it at 4%. Because I've got no memory of that. Maybe I was just too young. That has to be it. Dr. Lowe told the House of Representatives Economic Committee the extent of an expected economic contraction in the September quarter will depend on the duration of lockdowns and whether there are further virus outbreaks. We can't rule out 2 quarters of negative GDP if the health situation deteriorates, but I think it's quite unlikely at this stage, Dr. Lowe told the committee in Canberra via video link. By the end of the year, many of us will be vaccinated. One hopes the restrictions are being eased later this quarter and into the next quarter. He said the experience both in Australia and elsewhere was that once restrictions were lifted, spending recovered strongly, especially if people had confidence about the future. While the exact timing of the bounce back is difficult to predict, it is likely to start well before the end of the year, Dr. Lowe said. The RBA board left its interest rate policy settings unchanged at this week's monthly board meeting, maintaining the cash rate at a record low 0.1%. And I'll bring up this cash rate here. I need to update the chart. I haven't updated for that latest announcement. Oh no! I actually changed this when we went from 0.5 to 0.1. I changed the chart in the previous one I had. You couldn't even see it. You couldn't even see it. Maybe I need. That's why I need to start, streaming in 4K, everyone, so you can see the changes to our cash rate chart. There we go. I figured out. I've got a justification for getting 4K working. Remember when 3% used to be considered an emergency rate, guys? Remember? Oh, those were the days. Those were the days. Dr. Lowe reiterated the cash rate would not be increased until inflation was sustainably within the 2 to 3% target, a condition that is not expected to be met before 2024. Once we get to 2.1%, we are not going to say job done. At the moment, our focus is on getting people into jobs and getting wages growth up. Annual inflation did spike to 3.8% in the June quarter, largely due to the unwinding of support measures introduced during last year's recession. Well, I'm going to do an update video about shipping costs, and they are just going through the bloody moon, and how much of our goods are imported here in Australia. So we'll have to see how inflation goes, if it's just transitory. This transitory inflation seems to be lasting a long time, doesn't it? But the RBA's latest forecast, contained in its quarterly statement on monetary policy, also released on Friday, predicted inflation subsiding again to 1.5% by June next year. Economists have been surprised the RBA kept to an earlier decision to wind back its stimulatory weekly bond purchases from September to $4 billion from $5 billion, faced with a renewed downturn in the economy. Don't worry, they can just ramp it up whenever they need to. We considered the case for delaying this tapering. The critical issue here is the outlook for the economy, Dr. Lowe said. Well, he wants to be able to turn it on again if he needs to. We're expecting a return to strong growth next year. Any additional bond purchases would have their maximum effect at that time, and only a very small effect right now when the extra support is needed most. There's been a spread of economic figures in the past week highlighting the negative impacts of virus outbreaks, which again have more than half the population in lockdown. The latest data released on Friday shows Australia's service industries have suffered the biggest setback since the depths of last year's recession. The Australian Industry Group Performance of Services Index dropped 6.1 points to 51.7 in July, its largest monthly fall since April, but it's still in the positive. Over 50, that's generally considered better than being below 50. It's to do with the mood, the sentiment. With COVID-19 infections and restrictions areas on the rise in the early days of August, the chance of an early rebound appear to be fading, AI Group Chief Executive Ines Willox said. So there we go, everyone. Another recession unlikely. Now, do you trust Phillip Lowe, and what's the solutions to this one, everyone? Let's think about that. I need to make this transition so I can be on like a soapbox or a pillar or something. Well, what's the solutions to it? Are we going to have a recession or are we not going to have a recession? We've seen that the government will intervene in the market. We've seen that the Reserve Bank will intervene in the market. If you receive the ability to open up the economy again to a greater extent, maybe our health services can deal with the continuation of COVID-19 in the wider community, but they've hit their vaccination targets. Then there will be a whole lot of people that going out there and spending. But you know what will happen? They'll open the borders. If they open the borders, you'll see a flood of people come to Australia because, we're looking better than other parts of the world. Although that could change with what's happening in New South Wales and Victoria. And then, well, is a recession likely? We'll have to see. And what's the solution to this? Watch and wait. Prepare. Prepare for the worst. Hope for the best. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one in the comments down below. Thank you all for watching. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I create here, there are a few ways you can support us. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can sign up for SelfWealth or Stake. Use our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.